at all. I have a friend who lives near me who has a big fund who is like loaded in ASTS from like $2 or $3. And like his time frame is like 10 years. And he was literally up 1,000% on it already. And after earnings in like early March or something, he was buying more of it.
Wow.
And I mean, his time frame is like this guy crushed Netflix. Like he
Right.
had like a 10-year hold in Netflix, and he thinks this is like he was telling me that like is what he looks for are stocks that like the ramp hasn't started yet. Like so he thinks that that's ASTS, and then they've got to have like a subscription model. So he views this as like a subscription business like
Yeah.
Netflix. And but man, like I don't think I could be added to a name. I'm up 1,000% on that. That takes balls.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I know that he's had some pretty big reversals.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but yeah, so I've kind of been watching this one just because, I know the story pretty well just because of him. He sends me all these articles about it and shit.
Did you see AT&T was about to change their name to the Red A today, like their Twitter account?
No.
Yeah, their Twitter account was tweeting about ASTS like three different times today.
Oh, really? I mean, well, yeah, they have a partnership,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Wow, I
And
mean,
they've got AT&T's got earnings tomorrow morning, and they sent out like three very like cryptic like ASTS uh tweets. It was
oh, maybe that's why this thing ripped back today.
I think it
I
I
saw
think
you post that in the chat. I was so confused of what that was.
yeah.
Because all the ASTS cult guys, they all have like that red A emoji in their name and stuff.
Well, hopefully this thing just like explodes tomorrow. That would really be good for me. I mean, I'm not like huge in it. I don't like load up in names like this, but hey, if it moves the way it moved today, you can do pretty good.
We're kidding. All right, Rocco, take us away, man.
Yeah, welcome everybody. I got the live stream started already, so we're already good to go. Um, yeah, so we've had Oliver on before. I think it was God. Whoa, when was it last year we had him on? Do you remember? I can't even remember.
I don't. It was after I know we were
Was
talking
it
about
January last? No.
it was pretty early. We were talking about the D-Dog and Shopify moves. I remember that because I was asking about
Oh yeah, so yeah, it must have been earlier because I was on those earlier, and then they kind of stopped going
yeah.
up.
Yeah, so it must have been. I know a lot of people who are probably on tonight we're already there in person for the first interview. If you haven't, you've probably already watched it. It's in the interviews channel at Discord. But we got him back on today. We're gonna get him. We were gonna get him on a little earlier. That got pushed back, but super excited to have him on. And we're kind of, I guess, we're not gonna really go through the backstory or anything anymore, how we got into the markets, even though that was awesome conversation the first time. Don't want to waste time on that again since we've already talked about it. So. Do you want to bring your screen up for us? Like any charts or anything? Uh,
Sure, or whatever you guys want to do. I can do anything.
Did you upgrade to TC 2000 yet?
No, man, I'm still on Thinkorswim, and I definitely need to do something. But so you want me to share?
yeah, if you want to share and we can kind of maybe just like run through the year so far, kind of like month
Yeah.
by month, and then we can kind of just go from there.
Uh, you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yep. See, yeah, TOS, yeah, four charts. Yep.
Uh,
Still rocking the same layout. Hasn't changed.
yeah, yeah. I haven't changed anything.
Love it.
Yeah. All right, so my charts might have a bunch of alerts and crap all over it. I just sat back down from earlier. But so all right, so like my year, I basically I got whacked on DeepSeek. Um and then I had some personal stuff and I took like, 2.5 months off. Uh and really I kind of came back to the market. And we were just talking about this. I was kind of just day trading futures. I was I don't know. I was just getting back into it because I literally didn't watch the market for a while. I just had some stuff going on. And then basically, I got long the futures for a swing position on this day, on the 23rd. And I was telling these guys I'm actually still in that trade. And I think it might be coming to an end here
Are you
soon.
just trading like a 20 MA stop on that or what?
Yeah, I kind of so like I have a separate futures account and it's like literally just about mechanical. I just literally ride the 20 EMA. Now when I do get new contracts, I try to add and then I kind of manage those versus cost until the 20 EMA gets above and then I just roll it into the regular position. And sometimes like if I add something and it's in the money or whatever, but I think it's going to get ticked out. I'll just take it, because I don't want to mess up my core position. But yeah, for the most part, I've just been riding that, and I don't even really look at it since it's pretty mechanical. But we'll see. Hey, I hope it just keeps going because
Yeah,
it's.
what kind of trade is that like for your account? Like I guess it's purpose, if that makes sense.
So I have a separate account for
Oh,
it.
okay, separate. Okay,
Yeah, I
gotcha.
don't trade it. I don't trade it. And actually, really, the way that account started is my wife wanted to put some money into a college fund, for my kid, and like we do the 529 and all that, and she wanted to do a brokerage account. And I said, "Oh, let me just, trade the futures with it." And I was never gonna like I don't really focus on that account much, but I ran it up pretty good, and then I took a bunch of money out and I put it in index funds for him and then I just kind of kept doing it and basically because it's like pretty mechanical, I don't really spend any time on it really. Which starting with basically no money in it because it was just money for my kid, there was like zero emotion whatsoever attached to
Mhm.
it. And so it made it pretty easy to just literally follow the 20 EMA because I wasn't even watching it. And then now I've actually grown it, to where it's like, a little more meaningful. It's still like it's like less than 5% of my other account. You probably even less than that. But it's, I mean, you can have like 5-figure days in it, six, not 6-figure, but 5-figure days in it up or down. And I just kind of like because of how I started it, I don't even really watch it at all. I just like ride the 20 EMA pretty much into like literally I don't even look at the P&L. Some days I pull it up and I'm like, oh wow, like we made good money today or we lost good money. I just like totally don't even look at it. But the nice thing is with the futures is they're so scalable. Like as you make money and get more contracts, like you can really start to grow the account. But you got to be careful. I only like to really buy the futures kind of more on pullbacks into the moving averages. I don't like to buy breakouts and stuff because I feel like they always get ticked out. But so that's a trade I've had on, and I'll keep that on as long as we're above the 20 EMA, like hopefully for the rest of the year would be great. But, but I don't think so. But then in my main account, really the names, when I started getting long the market, the first position I really got long was MSTR. And we were just talking about this one too. I got long this in here. And I mean, it was showing relative strength all in here, even to Bitcoin, and it looked really good. And it started showing relative weakness in here in like the middle of May, and I probably gave it a little too much leash, and I ended up selling it on the 23rd. It was in the end it was kind of a disappointing trade, just because like my expectations for MSTR because of how I had traded into the end of 2024, I was frustrated, make like 20% in a stock or whatever when you're thinking you're going to make a lot more. But really the two best trades for me have been Hood has probably been my best trade. I got long it before earnings, and then I actually here, let me clean this up a little. I actually sold it the day of earnings. like this day, basically at the low of the day, like maybe like into the bell, and then I was like, God damn. The next morning I bought a little back, and then I really got more on this undercut here. That's kind of where I got more. I bought more this day. I bought more this day. And so I got it up to about like 36% of my account. That was about my position. And it was mainly because of how I was able to buy it. I was able to buy it, like if I just have to like buy a stock on a breakout, I usually don't get as big of a position. Whereas if I can buy something over the course of like 2 to 4 days, that's like the best case scenario for me.
Is that,
And
Oliver, is that due to, this might be a personal question if you can and don't have to answer it the way, but is that due to size or is that due to like strategy and preference?
it's more due to like, I'm not going to just load 35% of my account into a
Mm,
stock. It's not due to size. I mean, I feel like if you're running under like 50 million, you don't, and you're trading liquid stuff, obviously,
yeah.
you don't really have any issues. Um, and it's more just like, I like to buy like if I buy 15% one day and it moves up a little, then I buy like 10% more, then 10% more. And like each day, like I'm typically buying a little bit higher.
Mhm.
And really like it's just each day I have more confidence that the trade's
Yeah,
gonna.
I like that. I was gonna say, I mean, each day goes on and that feedback's positive. You just build more conviction kind of in the trade. Each day goes on. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way as well.
Yeah, so like when I had it pre-earnings, like I think I only had like a seven, let's see, where are we? I think I only had like a 7.5% position. So even when I sold at the low of the day, I was like pissed off. The next day I was like, God damn, like I can't believe I just sat in this for all these days and then sold at the low of the day after earnings. But it's kind of like that's kind of how I trade is, I had like a 7.5% position there. But then when I was able to buy and get good feedback, then I had size for this move. And I actually exited it yesterday. I should have sold it probably on this doji, but I wanted to give it another day. And kind of when it went up and didn't hold, I got out of it. I did add some back on the flush out this morning. I didn't think it really acted that well today though. So I wouldn't shock me if I end up getting stopped. But I guess you could argue it sort of looks like a bull flag here. Maybe it surprises me tomorrow, but I just kind of look at the weekly. I actually kind of thought in this area here it was gonna stop me out. I thought, and it just never did. It kept going. So, maybe it surprises me and does the same thing again here. But my size in it is smaller now. I'm only about like 10 or 15% in it, I think. And I'm not looking to increase it just because, I don't feel like it's the same trade as it was down here, just because of the weekly. Um, and then coin. So I had crowd and so like crowd, MSTR, and hood were kind of my names and crowd was kind of another one that I got in it. I had a little on the 22nd. I bought more on the 23rd and I think I topped it off on the 24th, but I didn't buy a bunch more on the 24th because it went so quickly. And I just rode this all the way up. I think I actually got shaken. No, I know I did. I got shaken out of a little of it on the ninth here. And then I added it back. So I gave, a couple points up there. And then I just kind of sat in it this whole way and really same deal. This thing kind of it underperformed a little bit. Not a little bit. I mean, for me, like I like things like Hood where it doubles, right? And Crowd just, what was this like a 25-30% move? So it was almost like when I had started selling some in here, less so because I thought it was going to top. I actually was surprised to this day when it sold off, but it's because I had other ideas that were moving faster. So I was kind of selling this to rotate the money just because I needed the money. And then when I finally got stopped out, I only had like 9 or 10% left. Um, and I keep seeing some people try to like buy this off the 50 day and stuff, but to me, it's just like there's other names that are acting well, and I don't really pay attention to the 50 day as much as a lot of other people for other than for more of a reference guide. Um, so I'm kind of, I'm done with this. This has probably been one of my better names of my career, so I like to trade it, but it just kind of seems like dead money. There's just better opportunities out there. And probably with Hood, my best trade has been this coin where I got long some on the 17th. So like it was back testing the 20 EMA. So I like to trade against either the 10 or the 20. So I started some and then I added the next day and I got pretty aggressive here. I had like 40% of my account in it. And I was pretty committed to trading this thing and holding for the move. So I just like held all through this and I exited same deal yesterday and then same deal I added some back on the 10 day today. Now, coin part of the reason I sold is like I'm not gonna hold like a huge position like that into earnings.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, I could lose, I just had like a really, really good, 2 to 3 month run here, right? So I don't really want to risk giving that back. And I always kind of feel like mentally the third week of July to like the first or second week of October is kind of like not always, obviously, but it's usually a window where things get a little bit choppier. Um, so for me, I wouldn't say I've like packed it in or anything. Like I always kind of check my opinion and just try to trade what I see. But like generally I try to be a little more less aggressive here and really just try to keep my account where I want it to be. Because often that end of year period, second, third week of October through the end of the year is like a huge period for me. Um, so, I got this, but again, kind of like Hood, I'm smaller in it I'd love to see this chop around here under 430 into earnings. Earnings are in like, a week. Because I'm a major long-term bull on coin. Like I think this is going much higher personally. Um, so really coin and Hood have been my best trades from a sizing standpoint, where I had like a significant amount of my account. Oh, and then Palantir. So like really between Palantir, Hood, and whatever, like those were kind of my three positions where I had huge positions and they really moved. So Palantir was my main focus coming out of this correction. And I think I can't remember exactly how it all went down in here, but I was long at, some in here, some in here. And I remember selling it, basically into the low one of these days. I made a mistake on it and I screwed up. But really is where I got long, where I nailed it for the move was here on the 22nd. I added here and I had about 40% of my account in it. That's kind of like my baseline for my biggest positions. And then sorry. And also like I've been trading this pretty aggressively since 30. Like it's kind of this has been my name, I would say since 30. It's been like my go-to name. Um, and then I actually exited it before earnings and I bought it back on earnings like really, really well. And then stupidly I sold it like that day. I don't know why. Like it closed, it was nearly and I sold it. So then I bought some back this day and then I added here and I was back to full size. Um, and then I got shaken out on this day. I got stopped out when we lost the 20 EMA and I just bought it back. And then I really screwed up on this rebalance because I knew the sell was coming into it, and I knew that, here, like it wasn't pushing higher. Like we stalled here, and I had reduced some, but I actually held through all this, and then it gapped up, and then I ended up hitting out of it this way when we went inside and down. And so I didn't do that great on this trade. And I that's what I hate when I'm in my name for 2 or 3 weeks and I don't make that much money because it's like there's other things I could put my money in. And I caught this move through 136 and I sold out of it in here. and then I bought it back today into the lows. I'm trading it smaller now. Kind of same deal. I sort of feel like the Palantir trade isn't as good as it once was, you know. And the names that I've been doing well in with smaller size have basically been like SMR. Like
Right.
I caught this move in here. I caught this move. I sold some of it yesterday and I rebought this today. Oklo, which I kind of ate this yesterday, and then I bought it back this morning, down in here, and I got stopped out of it, and then it closed okay. I think SMR is the name though over Oklo in this space. And then NBIS, which I know you guys have been trading, I did really, really well in NBIS. Where was the earnings day? Like in here? I really, really loaded it here. I actually got long it the day before. And then the day after, so like I used pivot points, and like S2 was like the low of the day here into the 20 day. And I had like an 18% position in this, which for me, for a name like this is a lot. Um, and I held it all up into here, and then I started getting out of it up in here. It just kind of seemed like it had lost its momentum, and then I took the rest off in here. And I screwed up on this one. I thought it had earnings tomorrow morning because that's what Market Smith said. And like, by the way, like never look at earnings on Market Smith. I never do. But on Earnings Whisper, it had the earnings as like May 20th.
I know.
So yeah.
Piss me off.
So it's like I haven't really traded this, and I actually think today, if I didn't think it had earnings tomorrow, I might have bought this today, but I didn't. And I really personally like the way this is coming together here on the weekly. It just got ahead of itself in here because it had such a huge move. It ripped from like 25 to it doubled, and now it's been consolidating. And I really like how this is setting up. But we'll see. I believe the earnings now are July 31st is what someone I was talking to my buddy today, and he went on the IR site, and I think that's what he said. And
Dude, I've been on their website. TC2000 says the 29th. Earnings Whisper says something else. Earnings Hub says something
Nobody
else.
ever knows when MBS reports.
well, yeah, TOS says the 31st. So like everybody's got a different date for this thing, which I don't like to load up and hold into earnings, so it's just kind of, you know, um,
Yeah, it's fresh. Would is that
yeah.
is that the first spot that you got involved? It was that day before that 20 May tap on at the beginning of June? Or were
So
you getting
I had actually bought it in here above this high. I can't remember why it gapped up here. The real area to get loaded in this thing was down in here. And I did that actually with Oklo and SMR. They had similar charts, and I rocked those actually from down in here. But I got long this up through here. And then I think I sold out of it for like 15% because it had earnings. I held a little into earnings. And I tried getting it going again after earnings, and it just never really got going. So I sold it in here, didn't really make anything. But then, for me, like I may sell something, up in here, but I never ever really like leave a name if it's above the 20 EMA and I like it. I just might like reduce it and say like, hey, it's just not ready to move yet. But if I like to get things as close to the 20 EMA as possible, yeah, ideally, because then if I get it, it's easier to hold. And so I was very aggressive. I had a lot of conviction on this thing. I had a buddy who really knew the story and had filled me in on it, big in like the tech space. And um,
Anand?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anon, dude, he chirped this thing up to me so hard. And I talk to him occasionally, and he definitely seems to understand the tech data space, or at least he sells it well that he understands. I don't know.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, yeah, but I,
I
but
love talking to him.
yeah, but he really got me to focus on it. And I'm the kind of guy like once I kind of focus on something, I just trade my strategy. But it's almost like if I can have conviction on it, I can like trade the heck out of it. And whether it's actually a good story or not at that point is kind of irrelevant.
Yep.
Um, and so yeah, so I did well in this, and I still like this name just because of I like how the weekly's coming together. The only thing that kind of like makes me a little uneasy about it, I mean, it's the old Yandex, which like I never really traded Yandex post. Like I traded it when it was kind of an IPO, but then I just stayed away from it because of the whole Russia thing.
Yeah.
And then I was telling you guys I caught this turn in ASTS. Um, I was actually started this on this day and same deal. I do this a lot where I'm like a little bit early and I sell it, maybe for like a percent or two or sometimes like even like lose a percent. Um, but then this day when it kind of it took out these lows and then the next day when it came back, I was like, huh, they couldn't sell it here. And so I really got going with this on the 11th and I reduced it yesterday. And then I was able, I mean, it really washed out this morning. This morning, I was fortunate I reduced a lot of stuff yesterday, and the washout this morning, I was able to buy some stuff back. And then I had no idea why it ripped today until you guys were telling me that AT&T news. And I really like this ASTS. I was telling these guys how I have a buddy who has a pretty big fund who's more of like a 10-year time horizon guy, and he's been in this thing since like $2 or $3. And I mean, he's obviously he doesn't look at charts or anything. He's a fundamental guy, but he's like a fundamental growth guy, so it's like he kind of like sees things that obviously your value fund guys like, most fund managers are going to say this is overvalued and not even trade it. Um, but I would say he's like the kind of guy where like when he likes a name, it's either going to work huge or he's going to get smoked. But I can use a stop.
Yeah.
So I like to pay attention to his names because they can work huge. And I didn't catch any of this move. I actually think you guys caught some of this move, right? The
I didn't. I never got involved in this, to be honest.
I
Never did.
never got involved in it. I started, I think I tried it in this area, somewhere in here, and I never really got it working. Um, and then I tried it in here and I got chopped up. And actually my wife owns this long term. She bought it in here, not like a ton of money, but that always pisses me off. Uh when I kind of don't get it and then she owns it. Uh, which happens a lot. Um, so yeah, this is a name I like. I mean, it's not like a sizing name for me. This is more like a 7.5%, 7 to 10% type name for me. Um,
Hey, just out of curiosity, did you ever at all get involved in like a like core weave in that move?
yeah, so I traded CoreWeave. So usually when IPOs are pre-lockup, I more kind of flip them. And so I took three, like this whole run, which obviously I should have just bought it and held, but I want to say earnings was like one of these days. I
It was the
caught it.
red bar there, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I caught
played it
it from
after
in
earnings.
here and I took like, maybe like 20% out of it, 25. And then I got it after earnings and same deal. I flipped it. I made 35%. And then I caught another trade and I missed this trade right here and I had it on my watch list, but I never got involved. Um, and then now I'm actually kind of wondering. I bought a small amount of this today, basically kind of like a probe, kind of. And I'm kind of wondering if CoreWeave can get going here. Um, I think it needs some work, like before I would really go after it. But I got it in here, over here on the right,
Yeah.
and I don't have a lot of it. I debated just kind of flipping it here into the 5 day in R1, but I held on to it, and if it can kind of carve out, under here, my buy areas are typically like through the moving averages, and so I sort of think, I obviously have no idea, but I sort of think it needs to like kind of come up and maybe like build out a little bit more to actually really go. But we'll see. I could easily see kind of how like some of the other examples I've given, I'm sometimes a little early and I sell it for not really much and then a week later is when I rock it. I could see something like that happening here. But CoreWeave has not been on my radar at all probably since, in here, we had this distribution and then it went up and traded down. And then so I haven't been, I was not trying to buy it in here. I think a lot of people were. I was watching it obviously, but it just never really had, the juice is what I call it. And now it's down around the 50 day. It's right into this gap. I always find it interesting when something comes like right to the gap but doesn't fill the gap. You know what I mean? So I think this gap here is definitely relevant. And it's kind of a question to me as to like how it builds out. Maybe it needs more basing and it sets up under like 147. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's kind of back on my radar. And so to answer your question, typically when IPOs are pre-lockup, I more flip them. I don't really try to hold them because I often find they don't work that well. Obviously, I was wrong on CoreWeave though. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
this was a phenomenal trade. Do you guys catch this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, Rocco.
Yeah, I mean, I caught a little piece of it. I had we were watching a lot when it kind of like I think it undercut the IPO low on like the first follow through day on the Qs or something. I'm not sure. I might be wrong on that, but like 21st, 22nd kind
Yeah,
of
right
area.
here, the 21st,
And it had
exactly.
that nice, we were looking at that next couple of days as like, a cross spec kind of thing, maybe,
Yeah.
and it was tough though, man. That thing was like shaking people up left and right, like every day. It'd like sell off the highs on a gap up and then a gap up the next day. And like, it was so difficult. I know, I mean, everybody in our group, TCR, you were on it as well, but I was only able to get involved like the day after earnings,
Yeah.
for only like a smaller trade. But yeah, I was just
So
curious.
Bracco, I trade with a guy who's kind of similar to you, where he will put like he focuses on like one or two ideas. Actually, the guy I was telling you about earlier, the MSTR guy, and he literally had his entire bit of buying power in this, and he
Nice.
held it the entire way.
That's
Uh,
incredible.
yeah, man, it was like fun to watch, because I would watch this thing move around like, what this day, what did it
Dude, it
move
was
like?
nuts.
I mean, he had like a 25% day on this day, you know what I mean? Like it was crazy. Um, but so, yeah, like I caught it, but I didn't like kill CoreWeave like some people did. It's just more kind of my playbook to trade those
Yeah.
Typically for me, the sweet spot where I'm gonna absolutely crush a trade is when something is like newer, like this, but it's post lockup and it really sets up coming out of
I remember the last interview we had you on. It was the day you bought Kava, the lockup day. It like right, wasn't it?
which name?
Kava,
Kava.
the
It was
lockup.
the
Oh
lockup
yeah,
day
yeah.
that
Like
day.
I absolutely annihilated Kava.
You were pumped that day when you came on. I remember.
Yeah, because so here's the deal. My wife is actually like she's not a trader. My wife still owns the stock from that day. But she's got like a very long-term time horizon. She doesn't even look at her account. But she's like pretty savvy. And when she really likes something, like I like to pay attention to it. And so I was like waiting for this lockup because I knew we were going to buy some, in her account. And Kava is one of my best names, the last like 5 years, like since I opened my interactive brokers. It's like one of my best names of the last 5 years. And it's basically just because I didn't like ride it in one sitting this whole way, but I pretty much, when was the lockup? It was
It was that big
12-12.
volume day there. The big volume day.
yeah, right here. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So like I got involved in it there and I pretty much rode this whole way. I think I got out of it here and then got back in it.
Dude, that thing 5x on that
Dude, at
run.
5x, and the best part about it was the way that it topped made it so easy to just walk away.
Yeah.
Like
5x.
literally, I just walked away from this thing. It was awesome, and I haven't traded it since. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I actually, you know what? I think I did catch this move, and I was thinking like, oh, it's back on, let's go. And then it petered out, and I haven't traded it since. I've kind of been paying attention to it again. I haven't traded it yet, but I've been kind of watching it since this day, and I didn't trade it at all, but I kept all these down days here, like this day, and then it would recover, and then this day, and it would recover. It kind of got my attention because clearly, like someone's been selling it on these days. Like this day, it really washed out. Like if we look at this, like boom, look at that, like
Yeah.
crazy selling, and then for it to recover. So I'm paying attention to this again because if you look at the weekly over here this green zone to me, it pushed through it and back tested. And this trade in here, I really did well on because I had a lot of size on it. And that's where it bottomed out again. And so I'm looking at this descending channel here, and I would almost prefer it to actually come up here and base more, just because I'd rather a bigger base to really get into it again. And I think if it gets a bigger base, it's going to have an easier time of getting through this, because there's a lot of volume here.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm kind of, again, like I said, I haven't traded it yet. I don't know when it reports. My whole theory my whole theory with Kava is that it's like the Mediterranean version of Chipotle, right? Chipotle is Mexican, and Chipotle has what, like a $60 billion market cap or something. Whereas I want to say at the high, Kava had like a 10 or $12 billion market cap. And you had all the valuation guys saying it was like crazy, blah, blah, blah. And to me, it's just ahead of itself. So my theory was Kava needed, 2 or 3 quarters of earnings. I mean, I still think that it's growing and everything. It just kind of needed to catch up to its valuation. But I think that it is still, I'm not going to say like versus whatever the earnings and sales are right now that it's cheap or whatever, but I think like if you have like my wife's time period, um, the market cap on this thing is 10 billion. And I'm not saying it's going to be as big as Chipotle, not at all, but if it's like, a third of Chipotle, I think it could easily double from here. And I mean, I still think Chipotle, like my wife actually has owned Chipotle for like a long time. I don't know how long. But I think Chipotle, I know that even the valuation people on Chipotle, I hear them chirping about it, but I think this is going to continue to go higher. It's not really the growth story it was when it IPO'd. That's when I was actually trading it, but um I think Kava is still in play.
Yeah, people in the chat saying I've never been there when there wasn't a line out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I ate there too much and I kind of got I kind of got sick of it actually. But I mean, I like the food and I think the Mediterranean theme in general has got legs. Like my wife's Italian and Lebanese, so they love that stuff. Whereas, I'm just like a American dog. But so they kind of got me into it and I think this thing has a bright future. I mean, if you just look down here, it's got big earnings. The revenues are starting to decelerate. Um, that this upcoming quarter, obviously the earnings are expected to decline a lot. So we'll see. I mean, these forward-looking numbers don't look that great. Um, but sometimes when I see that and I really believe in the story, I always feel like there's a chance where this number's wrong. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. But uh,
Room for upside surprise.
yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes it's good when the numbers look like that, because it just gives room to beat. But but yeah,
Hey, with like hood and coin, after you get those, few days of buying and getting your size in it, where are you? I'm familiar with kind of your entry tactics and
yeah.
some sell tactics, but like, how frequently are you making any like adjustments to your sizing, to your position, selling, buying back, trimming, like adjustments or moves within this whole trend?
So all I did this whole move was I bought it. I actually sold it here,
Mhm.
and partially I was going to be out this day, and I thought this was an extension, which I do this often where I think something is an extension, and often I'm right for like a day or two, and I can get it lower. And then I was out the next day, and when I looked at my phone in the early afternoon, I was like, I was like, F, I messed up. And then they didn't get into the S&P 500, and I was handed a gift, and I just reloaded it down here.
Nice.
It was like a total gift, because this really has been, one of the names that has kind of made my year. And I just held it the whole way. So like I didn't trade it at all. I just held it the whole way, pretty much outside of that. Um,
Did you have any trouble like kind of getting back into the market after taking that long of a break, or not really?
so like yeah, like I said, I kind of like traded the futures a little. But it was almost like, my theory, which proved to be correct, was that this was going to look like 2018. And when it started to come together, the nice thing is because like I have a strategy, so it's kind of like, I kind of came back and, the market put in what I call a reversal extension. And then it came up and it put in a higher low and it put in a wedge pop. And
Yeah,
I
we
just kind of,
literally just followed the cycle price action for this. Honestly, I remember us talking about it like every day and just following it all
yeah,
the way
dude, I
up.
just followed the rules of my strategy. And so, I didn't really, I was cognizant. I didn't trade as big, like with my whole account as I might have. Sometimes I'm like fully margined and I wasn't always this whole run. I have like a trading coach who, I when I kind of came, basically I think a lot of these people probably know anyway, my dad passed away. And so he was like, you got to give yourself permission to just like you don't have to like knock it out of the park, you know. You just want to like trade good. You don't want to have any huge hits or whatever. So I kind of did that, and therefore it made it kind of easy to just sit with this move, and then kind of once my thesis started to come together that this looked like 18, I pretty much just stuck with it. And in a lot of ways, this has kind of reminded me of COVID. Really is what I've kind of been hoping is going to happen, and it still could, is that we're going to get a blow off like we did in the COVID market. Like in a perfect world, I'm wrong about my sell here in Hood, and like I added some back today, but I still kind of am not sold on it. In a perfect world, I'm wrong, and this is gonna fucking blow off into earnings. Like that would be absolutely amazing, and I think it's a possibility. So if we go look at this COVID market, and I say all of this like as someone who, like I was telling you guys, that window like third week of July into like October, I always typically think is a tip, it can be a little choppier, but is what happened during COVID. So one, here was 2018, and this was the market that I was really comparing it to, and it played out almost
Dude,
exactly.
it's so similar. And I've been
Dude,
sending like the chart in the chat for like 2 weeks. It's crazy.
like even all of this, like it didn't chop quite as long as this, but like it was almost identical.
It was crazy, yeah.
And really, I guess we had this one shakeout in 18. We didn't even have that in this market. I mean, this has just been like so easy the hardest part, like if you didn't have a strategy, was if you didn't hold and then you had to get back in. So like I was in some names that didn't move as well, but I was in them, and then eventually when I got stopped out, or I was able to reduce them out because they were slower and get into some other stuff that was setting up, but I was pretty much able to keep my exposure through the whole run. Um, but as far as what I would love to see in like, I'm saying love because it would be in my favor, but I also, I'll trade whatever happens, is what we saw in COVID, right? COVID was almost identical too. We had this sell off, right? We came up to the 20 EMA, put in a higher low. It actually like didn't even come back down as much as 18 in this year. And then we basically got above the 20 EMA,
Just
and
coasted.
and we coasted the whole way. And so what? We're in like the third week of July right now. COVID actually had some pretty nasty shakeouts in this run. So like I actually, I don't remember this definitively here, but I just know how I trade. Like I would have been thinking like, hey, this is an exhaustion, and then boom, and then whoa, it just gets supported again, and it kind of sets up, and like you're off again. And definitely me, because it would have been the second week of July, I would have been thinking sort of the same thing because we're kind of getting into that window. And then is what happens is we get going. And I did know during COVID that this was probably a blow off. I actually literally shorted the market. This is pretty wild. All right. So I shorted the market, and then I was also long, it was either CrowdStrike or MDB. I was long I was long. Oh, I think I might have like started short in the market on this day a little bit, and then we gapped up. And one of my names, I want to say it was Crowd. Crowd gapped up huge, or MDB gapped up huge. And like I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get run in on my short. And I ended up covering my short, like I shorted it here and I covered here. And then the names that gapped up sold down on me, and I sold them at like the like the
Oh
low.
no.
Uh but I would love, it'd be phenomenal, obviously, if we saw something like this into like, the end of August. I mean, I
That's
don't
kind of like when we got into July of last year before that like whole young carry trade. We got that like just melt up in the semiconductors and stuff.
exactly. So like I've been kind of hoping we would see more of a euphoric top. I'm just, I'm not sure if we see that or not. Um, it does to me sort of like for example, when I look at the semiconductors today, the way they kind of sold, and they didn't really come back like a lot of stuff. I think if the semis were to lose the 20 EMA, and I'm not saying they do, they would have to lose this level basically. But if they did lose that, I would be surprised if we kind of have that blow off, because I don't think that we're gonna have really a blow off without the semis. But we'll see. I mean, the semis haven't broken at all yet, so they had one bad day, and if they can support back, but this is a level I am paying attention to, um, because it would also basically be, it kind of can confirm, kind of like a failed move up. And then I could kind of see us chopping around as we get into this like fall window. But so this is something I'm watching, and we'll see what happens. I'm definitely positioned like less aggressively than I have been right now, and you know, part of that is because I've had a good run, and I'm just kind of happy with where I'm at. I made back all the deep seek, and we've had a real rip, and we're just kind of in that window where I don't like to be as aggressive. Um, but we'll see what happens. No one knows, obviously.
One thing I'm looking at your watch list over on the corner there.
Yeah.
See a few things that kind of spark up. Are you interested in trading some of those things like a lemonade, like a galaxy, or
Yeah. So one, I really like this Galaxy. And if you guys are into Galaxy, there's a great podcast, My First Million, and they just interviewed Michael Novogratz. And I think the guy's awesome. So I
yeah.
was watching Galaxy. I actually traded it a little in here, and it kind of never really got going. And then unfortunately, I missed it in here. I just had some other stuff going on. But I mean, this thing just ripped like 50% in like 4 days. Like unbelievable.
Dude, it ripped in the after hours. It's at like almost like 31, I think.
Oh yeah, it's at like $30 right now, or somewhere in that.
3070 or something.
Yeah, I think this thing is going higher. And here's the deal. Like a lot of these crypto companies are, in my opinion, kind of like shitcos. Like, dude, Novogratz is a player. Like, he's building a real company. So I don't view Galaxy like some of that other stuff. I think Galaxy could really be something.
I'm about to
So
listen to that. That's pretty
yeah.
cool.
He's a legend. He's got the Luna tattoo on his. Is that him? He's got the Luna tattoo on his arm.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, he didn't have a great call there with Luna, but
Not
but
that he bought Solana from FTX like for dirt cheap.
yeah,
Just
dude,
floating
he's a
up.
player. I mean, the guy's a hitter, and dude, listen to that podcast and you're just gonna say like he's awesome, and then like you start reading about the whole family, like that whole family is just like awesome. Um, so like I like this Galaxy like for more than just like, you know, like a quick hit or whatever. I'm not in it, unfortunately. I just didn't trade it, but Tim, I like this weekly. I actually posted it today. I got chopped up in this thing. I was up so big in it like twice, like, you know, so big, like like 20-25%.
Everybody has.
Yeah, and like I don't know, it might have, and actually this is another one that we own long term. You know, my wife puts like a little bit in a couple stocks a year. And I don't know, I like the weekly a lot. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Weekly looks like it could be something, you know, if it gets going, I'm gonna have to get involved and participate, but
Yeah, when does it report? Because August 8th before the open. So, you know, maybe it squeezes before earnings. I mean, it's heavily shorted. I don't know. I don't
Maybe it
know
just
that I
chops
want
everyone
to.
up like A Lab and then goes. Who
That's
knows?
probably what'll happen is they'll chop everyone up before earnings and then
I
it'll.
mean, I was interested in it and I'm not watching anymore, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, hey, I really tried to make it work. I believe in the story. I like the website and all that. You know, I think it looks good. Uh, you know, it's one of Kathy Wood's top 10 holdings, which again, she's kind of like my buddy who picks big winners, but then might also like eat it big. But I do like to pay attention to what she owns because they can work big, you know.
yeah.
Um,
And look at Ark since the lows. I mean, the thing's
yeah,
been
it's been on an
crushing it,
absolute
man.
rip. I mean, she's loaded in Hood, Coin. She's in like the best names.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I like this weekly. I don't know if I'm gonna trade it. Lemonade, I like the weekly. Kind of same deal. I, I don't really like trading Lemonade. I crushed this trade in Lemonade. I get yeah in 2020. And I haven't really traded it since, I don't think. Like I didn't catch this. I think I might have tried to trade it in here and it just sort of like I don't know. I don't really like trust it, so I'm not sure if I'm going to trade it. But I like this weekly. I'm keeping an eye on it. I think it you know it needs to set up more under here for me. Um, Talent I've actually kind of been keeping an eye on because of you guys. I've always had it on my secondary list, and then you know it had this big gap up the other day,
You know, I should have
and
loaded this today. I was talking about it. I don't know why I didn't. My head's been a little out of whack the past like 3 days, but man, it's up like 10% in the after hours right now.
oh, is it really? Oh
Yeah,
yeah, these power names are up. I did see that. I only have SMR
Whoa,
right
hit
now.
350. What? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, there was
yeah,
some power news. I can't remember what it was, but my buddy texted me about it. Yeah, so like when we kind of get these like sell-offs like we had this morning, I often kind of resort to my key names that I
yeah.
trade a lot.
Yeah.
And whether that's right or wrong, uh that's what I often do. But this was a great spot here today. You know, it undercut the gap up right into the 5 day, right into S1. So for me, that's kind of three things right there. I mean, this was a great entry today. Like, you know, for me, it would have been the entry would have been like maybe like 304.50-ish or something. You know, that's like a 1.5% stop on a name that could really just be getting started. So I mean, you know, obviously it's moved, but you know what I mean. So I really like that. I really like to trade for solar, like when it's in play. I have fortunately not traded these solars at all, and I sort of still don't trust them. Like this NXT has looked so good for like all in here, but it's just been in the wrong group. And I know ENPH reported today. What did it do? I
It
mean,
popped and
that's
it came
yeah,
back.
so like it's down. It's just like I just don't trust the group and I hate getting chopped up, so I probably won't trade this, but I like the weekly. Here, I'll say I probably won't trade it unless like ENPH gets bought up tomorrow. This does have earnings the 31st. But I almost in situations like this where a group's been so out of favor, I'm cool buying it through 200, you know what I mean? I'd almost like rather pay a higher price to not get chopped up. Um, but yeah, I like the potential for this weekly. I personally, dude, every freaking bone in my body is telling me to be long this Tesla in the earnings, but I'm not going to do that either. But I like how this is building, this triangle above, it's basically been making higher lows off the bottom. I caught, I caught one of these moves here. I caught this move in Tesla. I got long it in here. And fortunately, I didn't get hit. I stopped out of it actually on this reversal day, or I sold it and then I exited the rest here. But I kind of decided, like when it pushed up here and stuff, I think I might have had some on, but much small. I just decided, there's so much headline risk with Musk and all the stuff going on. And I personally like absolutely love Musk. I think the guy's a savage. But, I'm here to make money. And I don't really want to like have a name go up like 5% and then some headline comes out and next thing I know I'm down 2%. So I've kind of like haven't been trading Tesla, but I feel like it's calmed down now and I could see this doing something on earnings. I still view the wheat like I still view this as like a big cup and like you could view this as like a low handle or whatever. I don't like these gaps here, but I always watch Tesla. It's not in play right now for me, but it could be in play.
It's been
Uh,
such an interesting chart for so long. I truly don't even know like what to compare it to. It's so crazy.
yeah. So like Tesla's another name my wife has owned for a really long time, and there's
Gotta
been
get your wife
multiple
on
times.
here.
Dude, there's been multiple times over the years where I've told her to sell this thing, and it's what I've learned is that Tesla will often, after it has like big moves, it will often actually like chop around for like 2 to 3 years. And when I say chop around, like it may have like, a move in there, like a multi-month move, but then when you step back and look at it, it never really went anywhere. And then it'll just fucking explode. So
Dude, I posted like a logarithmic weekly chart on this. I think maybe it was a long time, like maybe in like November, December last year. But yeah, where
yeah,
this thing goes sideways for like 3 or 4 years, and then it just makes a huge move, and then it just goes sideways again for 5 years, and then makes a huge move, and now it's been like
exactly.
four
And
years. Yeah,
so like to me, Tesla has sort of been consolidating for, one, two, again, like I said, it might have these moves here, but in the end, it really hasn't gone anywhere in like about 3 years. And we're kind of in that window of like 3 years
hmm
where it pays to pay attention. Um, so that's just look, Tesla basically like changed my life in 2020, and I've been trading it, basically since 2013. Literally my one of my first real trades was this trade when this was the price was 41 here at the time, and it ran up to like 187 was the price like here at the time, I believe. And or no, sorry. Yeah, 2013. The price was like 41 here and it ran up to like 187. It's hard to believe that was like $13 now. It's just like this thing has just been such a monster. And so I always pay attention to Tesla. I mean, I think
Funny.
Margot's gonna own this for at least another 20 years. Like I don't think she'll ever sell it. So I'm a big believer and I just think you got to pay attention to it. And I'm very biased. And I say that, knowing that. But when it goes, like you said, it like really rips. Like even this move into the end of the year, I caught this move. And I mean, it went from 300 to 500 in month and a half, 5, 6 weeks. Um, I mean, that's a 60% move
For a
in
stock that big is just amazing.
yeah, it's unbelievable. And the thing I really like about Tesla is when it moves, it kind of does what it's supposed to do for like how I trade. Like it gapped up on volume, right? And this was like the cross back. It gapped up on volume, held the 10 day, held the 10 day. And then really like when it topped, one of the things I love about Tesla is I find it to be so easy to read sentiment on it because it trades so much volume and people get so attached to it, you know? Like when Tesla's on, like go back here. I'll tell you, I got out of this one because it was extended and two because like people were talking about Tesla like this thing was about to
Oh,
go
it's insane, bro.
8,000.
It's crazy.
So I find it very easy to sell well because of that. And so therefore I tend to trade it like pretty well because, selling a stock like Tesla well matters because, look what happened today at the top. It sold off 10%,
Now,
Uh,
do you like does it like like if you're watching it like in earnings, does it concern you that like it's like lagged a little bit, or do you kind of just like treat it as its own thing?
I've always kind of found Tesla to just kind of march at its own beat. It's like one of those stocks that just like
Yeah.
I've seen Tesla like think about it into the end of 2021. Like I got a big trade in this in October of 21 where like nothing was working and like Tesla ripped. And so did Nvidia and AMD. But like not much was working. And then, in some of these markets that have been pretty good, Tesla really hasn't participated at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it had this move, but all of well, I guess 2022 it obviously kind of sucked, but 20
23. I mean,
dude, 2024 was like a very good year to trade. Like I had a good year. There was a lot of good Tesla did nothing all year outside of like it had this move, but in reality, I mean, this was like a week,
yeah,
like it was nothing, and then it obviously had this move into the end of the year, but in reality, like all year, basically till November, like it literally did nothing.
Yeah.
So like I view it a little differently than other stocks, but yeah, like Bracco, I think like generally speaking, like that's a really good thought process to have on most stocks. And like it's probably a good thought process to have on Tesla too.
Well,
But
I asked just because Tesla does seem to, do its own thing sometimes. That's why I was curious.
yeah, I feel like that's been its personality ever since it IPO'd. It's always kind of doing its own thing. So
take
uh
on the characteristics of the founder, right?
yeah, he's just
Yeah.
like an insane person. And look, I traded Apple when Apple was in its heyday. Like it was, when I first started trading in like 2010, Apple, Baidu were kind of the names. And I don't know if Apple, because like I feel like Steve Jobs is like the same kind of crazy personality as Musk. But really, like I guess Apple was more of a, it had been in play a long time by the time I started trading it. But, this is when I was trading Apple, and I wonder if it was like a crazy march at his own beat stock. I don't know. But that's like the one founder. Like, look, Bezos is obviously a beast, but he's like not as crazy. Like Steve Jobs was crazy. Musk is completely insane. Um, Really, I don't know if there's anyone else kind of like the two of those guys, like in reality. And I think Musk is crazier than Jobs. Um, but I don't know. Hey,
That's
I
what
hope Tesla's back in
takes.
play. And
Uh,
then yeah, I mean, I wish I had caught this Baba move. I kind of always I don't love trading China. I was kind of watching this in here on this day actually. I was really watching Futu. I almost bought Futu on this day. Like right in here at like 140, I was watching it. I don't know. I don't love trading China stocks. I think this future looks really good. We're obviously seeing some rotation into China, but I'm keeping an eye on this Sezzle. Uh, I missed this whole move and like it was like the stock. It undercut the 10 week in the last 2 weeks and came back today. So I'm kind of seeing if it, you know, can build something here. When do they report? They report August 11th. That's the thing. We have so many earnings reports coming up over the next like 2 or 3 weeks that we're gonna get an array of opportunities that present themselves. Like even if it's not the trade right away, maybe they consolidate more. We're gonna kind of be able to say like, hey, I think this is gonna be in play, once it sets up. Um,
If something has earnings, like let's say something's got earnings on like August 3rd, right now, like how far out until you're really starting to look to reduce your size or even not pay attention and wait till after earnings on it?
so like for me, it is how I view that is it comes so like I'll give you an example with like Hood and Coin where I kind of reduced them is I viewed it like, hey, these have already moved a significant, they've moved a lot, right? And so when they kind of had like this bar, they each had similar type bars. I asked myself like, how much higher do I think this is going to go into earnings? And do I think it's going to necessarily have a huge sell-off? Like not necessarily, but I think it's just as likely to kind of chop around as it is to go higher. So therefore, I just view it like from a risk reward standpoint, it kind of makes sense to trim some off. Whereas, if it were like set up like this, like let's say right now is like this, I wouldn't sell because like it looks like it could still go. So I take into account like a bar like this and like how it's set up, how stretched it is relative to earnings. Like this doesn't report until the 31st, but I just kind of viewed it like with this bar, it's kind of more likely to chop around, maybe go lower than really go higher. Now, does that mean it can't go higher? Absolutely not. I mean, it could definitely go higher, but I try to just like kind of play the odds, and that's how I played these ones. Now, one thing, like so for me, kind of my rules on earnings are like if I'm gonna hold a stock into earnings like I either need to see it turning and I need to be smaller and then looking to add after earnings, typically more near what I would consider to be the beginning of the move, the beginning of the turn, typically in the indexes too. So I don't really feel like we're in that situation right now going into earnings or I need to be reduced into earnings, so that if it's moved a ways and it gaps down, I don't get crushed. Um, and so actually like a report I'm kind of interested in tomorrow is this Gev because
Yeah.
obviously Gev has been one of the, best stocks where it just kind of consistently went up. And I view this as a little bit extended right now in the sense that like I get it, it's pulling back to the 5 week, the 20 day, but this thing could use a new base, I think. It would be totally normal. Um, Now it did kind of obviously get hit pretty good here today, and to me it didn't close well either. Um, so I'm curious, and I almost think that could kind of set the it could kind of set the tone for maybe this Q3, if you will. Like, are we going to see names like this, you know, be set up to more chop around into their 10, 20 weeks and kind of reset and have more of a choppy quarter, which would make sense to me? Or, you know, or is it going to get hit, which, I hope that doesn't, and when I say hit, I mean like, really hit. I could see this thing kind of coming down into the 50 day and I wouldn't consider that getting hit. I would consider it, like rebasing.
Mhm.
Um, and, so I'm kind of watching that to just kind of to set maybe my mindset for the quarter. And one of the things I'm looking at here, Netflix to me, even though it wasn't the biggest mover, I kind of view this as like the liquid leader of this move. It was kind of the first name to break out that has a lot of volume going into it. And when it broke out at 1,000 it did great this whole run. And I was kind of wondering if it was going to come up and test the 20 day today, and it was pretty weak today.
And Spotify
And
too.
in what name? Spotify? Oh man,
Yeah.
dude, I haven't made money in this thing since 2020. Did this report?
No, just did this kind of same thing as Netflix, kind of
Yeah.
rejecting that
I
maybe.
feel like they're kind of like sister stocks. They
They
seem
are
to move together.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. They seem to move together, but so like I look at that and then I look at TSM as a name that's reported and they gapped it up, but since, and look, this hasn't like sold hard or anything, and like it's all it is an inside week here. So like I'm not sitting here, saying like TSM's getting crushed or anything. But it'll be interesting to see if this holds this inside week or if it ends up, even if it doesn't happen for a week or two from now, if it kind of bases up in here and maybe undercuts this and kind of builds a new base here, above 220 or something like that. Because if it does, I kind of think that we will have seen like Netflix not do well on earning. Interested to see Gev. Um, and do we kind of have more of a choppy environment? Um, and I don't know. I mean, those are just kind of some of the things that I'm looking at. And if things get choppier, I'll probably be, less aggressive. Um, I sort of try to like just not trade as much now, whereas I used to try to take like little trades and stuff. Now I try to catch the bigger moves and kind of chill out.
Get in your horses for the rally that you expect or you're looking for, and then kind of you know take your chips off when it's looking like it's done.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
That's what I was
maybe
gonna. Sorry, I
yeah,
was
maybe take like a small amount of capital and trade, but like for as far as like the majority like having my account heavily invested, if we kind of see that type of environment, um my mindset will be to not necessarily like not take trades, but probably more take flips in like August, and then I'm leaving in September, so I would actually love it if we're choppy in September. That would be great. Um, and then October, like I mean, everybody knows October is like the month to pay attention. So we'll see. I don't know, but that's one thing I'm watching for, and I think would make a lot of sense with how far we've moved. But I can't predict the future, obviously, so I don't know.
Um, what else what else I was gonna ask? So like in that situation, if that kind of plays out, that choppiness that may or may not happen, but would be sensible. I agree. What are you looking like on like a day to day or week to week basis? Are you scanning, just looking at your kind of main names, looking at earnings gappers? What's up?
I mean, look, like I'm like everybody else. Like I don't know what's gonna happen, so I'm still like looking for setups and stuff. But I think like, for example, like this run, like I was pretty lenient with my positions. If they would come down to the 20-day, like I'd really give them a chance to hold. Because whereas if we get in that type of environment, I keep things like tighter. Like I assume like, hey, it's probably going to be more choppy. I am not like you guys are probably much better traders than me. I'm not good. I'm not good at like I'm not, for example, like I've done well in these names, but I'm not good at like catching this and flipping it, I'm better at like trying to catch a trend. And so I find you get more moves like that in those choppy markets where, it's like you catch a nice 2 to 3 day rip, but if you don't take your gains, you give like 3/4
Yeah,
back.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's not like what I'm best at. I'm good at catching the trends. Um, but I need to kind of get better at that if or just because I do end up trading those tapes and you can get frustrated if you're not going to take profits. So same thing as everybody else. I'm going to look for setups because it's not like when the market is going to turn. Every year it's a little bit different. But I do kind of have a view. So like we talked about how like this market looked like my thesis was it looked like 2018. I had a lot of conviction on that. And so if we kind of get into what I think is a choppier type of market, my mentality, just like in my subconscious, will more be, like if we're going into the close or on something and I don't love the look of it, I'll probably be more likely to just like take the game, versus like, hey, let me see if this can hold up tomorrow. I'll probably just be like, screw it. Like, um, just because my view on the environment will just kind of be that things are a little bit choppier.
And then any besides anything on your watch list, anything else that is like a Kell name that you foresee is possibly a next horse?
Mm, not really. I mean, really, I think when we kind of get see some of these earnings, it'll, like I said, let's say we get these earnings and it still kind of seems like we're going to be in a little bit more of a choppier environment. It doesn't mean there won't be like a name that gaps up and then holds up really well on the chop. And we'll all be, you guys will be on it. I mean, it'll be like setting up in the chop.
Yeah.
And that'll be like the name that I probably focus on, whenever that happens. And it could be like, look, I really like coin. I really like the names that I've been trading. Like I look at this, so I think I showed one of you guys this, like I like the quarterly chart on coin, this quarterly cup and handle.
Yeah, the
So
magic line.
yeah, exactly. So even though I think that this thing is a little extended, like bigger picture, I think this thing could be, who knows? Maybe this is it and it's just gonna
Dude,
take.
just go look back at some of the stocks, like even in the last like year that have taken out their IPO highs. Even when they were like extended, they've made some just absurd moves. Like you look
Yeah.
like APP or stuff like Palantir,
Yeah.
like they looked extended into their IPO high, and then once they actually like literally took out that level, it was gone. You know?
Yeah, man. I mean, look at this Palantir. Like Palantir, is this the monthly? Yeah. When this thing freaking, I mean, I started really getting on Palantir like $30. And I mean, look at this. And then this is what I call an FU bar on the monthly, where the guy
Yeah.
who taught me to trade it takes out the previous month's low and engulfs. And I mean, it usually leads to consistent move higher, which we've seen. Now I sort of see Palantir as it's it's still going higher, but it's kind of channeling, it's lost some of the momentum it had, Um, but I don't see any reason why a name like Coin couldn't do something. Like let's say Coin on earnings, it doesn't like rip it, but it consolidates up here for like a month or two. Like, dude, into year end, this thing could be like what we just saw with Palantir when it took out 45. Like that could be coin. Um, so I like coin. I'll say I've liked coin for quite a while, and I got chopped up a little in here. So
Last time you were on here, you said the same thing about
Yeah, you were
Coinbase.
all over coin last time.
I I
I
like
had
I like coin. I just look. I think this crypto moves for real, like bigger picture, and I think that like all the things where all these other places now you can trade crypto, they've got Bitcoin futures, Ethereum futures, and all that. It's like, yeah, okay. And I agree, like that's the talking point against Coinbase. Like, Robinhood can trade, but you can trade all these other coins, which I don't even get into that. I'm not like a crypto bro. I own some Bitcoin and some Ethereum. And like I don't look at it, I don't trade it other than like when I'm trading crypto stocks. Uh but I mean, you can get access to all of that on Coinbase. And like you guys probably know more than me in that maybe you can do that on other things too. I don't know. It's just my account is at Coinbase. But I think Coin has the backdrop to go higher for a long time. And that's also sort of why I like this Galaxy too, because like, I think based on who's kind of running the company and stuff, like, they're not trying to like be a freaking Bitcoin miner who like, it's not a real like, they're trying to build like a real business, you know what I mean? And the business happens to be in what could be like a game-changing sector. And so that's kind of what makes this galaxy attractive to me is that like, they're to me they're more than just like some Bitcoin miner, which is to me what a lot of these Bitcoin names are. They're just like miners and now they've kind of gotten into data center stuff, but um I don't know what other names in the crypto space do you guys think are like real businesses that actually like
that's not my area of expertise, so I'd
Yeah,
Yeah,
ask
I
someone
I
else.
mean,
that's why I asked, because you guys seem to really know your shit, and
so I'm not crypto bro either. I guess it used to be. That's what kind of got me into trading back in like one of the first, or I guess one my first Bitcoin run in 2017. But some of the things right now, like that CoreWeave buying out Cores Scientific, like that
yeah,
really sparked up Irene RIEN. It
yeah,
treated that really well. Like so, it's like these old shitty miners that are like turning into
the
these like
data center plays, yeah.
yeah, like that. These those have been really cool. But like honestly, like all eyes on Coinbase because I mean I traded this move. You got in the day before me on that inside day. But like that breakout day, like I thought that breakout day was such a massive opportunity. Probably one of the I think the best that we
Dude, it
might.
just exploded too. It ripped right off the open, like
Because that was what you talking about that 618 bar, right?
right
Yeah,
here, yeah,
Because I remember you had
618.
talked about we'd known all along that like they get what like 50% of Circle's revenues, and like that
yeah.
kind of everyone started talking about it that day, even though it was already known, and it just went nuts.
I'd been
Yeah,
talking about
I didn't even know that.
yeah for weeks. The
I
circle.
didn't know that until like when Circle started ripping, and I didn't catch any of Circle.
And I was just waiting. I'm like, man, Circle's ripping. How is this coin? And I kept saying, like, yeah, I know this is trading like crap. Like it's shopping around right now, guys. But like, we can't lose sight of this because either the sector and the theme fizzles out, or this ignites, and we got to think that it ignites. And yeah, sure enough, man. Um,
Yeah, I mean, look, this was like a 260 to basically, let's call it 420, so 160-point move. And, it's like that Tesla move at the end of last year. It's like, it moves like 60%
Really similar, yeah.
in like, 5 weeks. Like those for me are like the trades. Like that's my time frame is like, 1 to 3 months, and like, what's the quickest move we can get in that window. Those are the trades that do it for me. Like the 3 to 5 day, I'm not a good enough seller in that short of a window where that I really maximize the trade. So some of these like crazy high flyers, I don't do as well in. But like that like, 4 to 10, 12 week window where the cycle really kind of plays out from my perspective, those are the types of names I do really well in. So typically they've got like an institutional sponsorship. So like a name like Iron to me, like I see the appeal, like I get it. And this thing, but for me, like this probably doesn't have much institutional sponsorship. And I don't know that you look at this monthly and this thing could just be kind of turning. But like that's kind of for me part of the reason why I probably missed Galaxy is it doesn't quite have to me the kind of institutional type trading. I like names that like are a little thicker that trade more volume. It's just my style. So I more like I'm not gonna miss a coin, whereas like I'll miss something like this because it just won't be like my main priority. Um, but yeah, coin is. Hey, I crushed coin and I crushed all of these moves, and then this was like a big gap up move, and I got chopped up in here. And so I'm hoping, I sort of think this move, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking, we're later stages in it if it hasn't already topped. But I'm hoping that it'll just do what Palantir did and maybe consolidate here a little and then go again. So Coin is probably the name that I like the most. And I think Hood, they're kind of like the same sector in some ways. I have never fully really viewed Hood as totally 100% crypto like some people have. Um, I just think there's a lot of people going on and using this brokerage. And
yeah.
then also happen to do crypto, which is just like the cherry on top. So I like Hood still. I just think those have been kind of my two best names. I just think it might be a little ahead of itself. But I mean, you look at the weekly on this thing, it hasn't done anything wrong. It's just it's had a huge freaking move.
That is a huge move, and and it will need to digest, and whether it's here or 15% higher or whatever percent higher, or
At some point, it's gonna rest for
I
like
kind of just view it as you caught the easiest part of the move, right? Like
yeah.
like like maybe its best days are kind of behind it for the time being, you know.
e-
So it's kind of just a waiting
exactly.
game now.
That's how I view it. Is like, look, could it rip through here and through this trend line and like run to 120? Like, sure. Uh, but yeah, like it's moved over 100%, and I think it probably needs to rebase before it really has another significant move. So.
Do you mess around with any Nvidia?
So, man, this is one of the things I was real actually kind of disappointed in myself about. So I did catch this move in NVIDIA from like here and here.
Hmm.
But the reality of it is that I decided all my opinion in here. Obviously, I saw NVIDIA setting up. Like I always trade NVIDIA. And I did not trade NVIDIA at all, like literally at all until here. And I knew I was later, so I was gonna flip it. But this thing moved, let's say you caught it at let's just say you caught it at 115. I mean 115 to 170, 55 points, 40% move. And that one of the guys I really like, the guy who really kind of in reality, I learned, when I started to learn how to trade Trader Florida. He was this guy on Twitter back in like 2011 to
Yeah,
13. I think maybe the greatest trader I've ever seen, like without a doubt. And he used to always say, you never leave your wingman. Like you just never, your name, which NVIDIA's been my name basically since 2023. Like no matter what, you never leave it. And so this was the first move in NVIDIA that I really missed since, I got on it here. I've caught every move in NVIDIA, some with more size than others. This move wasn't like a huge move, but I've caught every move. And so yeah, I was a little disappointed in myself that I didn't really maximize any of the semis in here. I did well in this CRDO, which like isn't like a purebred semi. But I didn't even get this until up here. Um, and
that's where
this,
I got it too. Is
yeah,
after earnings.
yeah, like I got it. I actually, I started this here and it came in against me, and I was pretty small in it. And then I added and I had a good amount of this. Um, and I still have a little, but and if it were to take this out tomorrow, like maybe it goes up. I still this weekly still has potential if it could stay up here. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it kind of ran the 20 day today and came back, which one of my favorite setups is when like the 20 day gets taken out and then it's recaptured. But we'll see. We'll see.
I,
Um,
I traded
but
this same way, that undercut after earnings, under that earnings gap against the 20, started buying it from there, and stayed pretty big in it. Started
yeah,
trimming like high 90s, a little bit over 100, and I'm
nice.
lighter in it now.
Yeah,
Gonna
so we kind of played it like similarly. So the growth on this thing is huge. I mean, it's got huge earnings, huge sales, like and so I have a guy who's it's funny, I have all these guys near me who are kind of somewhat this guy's more like he runs a family office, but his kid goes to my kid's school. And he has money in this 0.72 AI fund, for his client. And this is their biggest position in their AI fund. That's kind of so I actually got smashed in this thing right here on the gap down in 23. I was big for this name. I had like a 15% position and it gapped down like 30% or something. And so like I kind of like never traded it again. And he said to me like, hey, this is the biggest position in 0.72. And I pulled it up and like look at this growth, man. Like this is like what we do. And so I decided I had to trade it again after earnings. And so this was the first time I traded it since I got hit in it. And I mean,
0.72 like Steve
Steve
Cohen.
Cohen, yeah. So like I don't know how that all works because I thought Steve Cohen like was a family office. Maybe he does run. I mean, he has to run outside capital because this guy gave him some money. But this guy, for his client, has money in they have an AI fund. Like they have a bunch of different funds, I think. You know, they run so much money. And it's their biggest position, and I want to say it's like much bigger than, you know, I mean, I don't know. It's not like I like get updates from this guy, but um
That's cool.
yeah, so like I just like the growth, you know, the numbers are huge. Um and you know, this is another one like just like similar to like Coin and Hood and them, like it's had a huge move, but it's got huge numbers. This has kind of actually been consolidating a little bit already. And you know, like if this could consolidate and let the 10-week catch up, even though, you know, hey, maybe it just runs higher tomorrow. I don't know, but if this could consolidate a little up here and it had like a cup and high handle, I mean, this could just be another name to just continue to pay attention to. I think this Sezzle, I missed this whole move, and I was, you know, this is a name. I mean, I don't like this bar here, but you know, Palantir had that bar before this move. I guess it was a little different in that we were going into a correction, whereas Sezzle kind of just did it on its own. But I don't know when names go up 300% in like in a run, I like to pay attention to them. And this
That's
thing
fair.
pulled back, and I would love for it to maybe like not just run back up, but to, you know, chop around a little and build a little, you know, chop some people up. It's always good when people get chopped up a little, you know. Um, but so this is a name I'm gonna pay attention to this thing. It's, you know, I kind of view it and keep in mind I'm not like some fundamental guy who reads all day and fully understands everything. I kind of view it as like in a firm that is got a much smaller market cap and could actually work. Whereas a firm to me is kind of just like dead money. I don't even pay attention to the stock. Um,
Dude, Sezzle's a 4.5 billion after this move.
yeah, that's what I mean, man. This thing could easily go up another, like even like 15 billion is not like that huge of a company in the grander scheme of things. And I've never really like I mean, dude, this has triple digit earnings and sales the last two quarters. You know, the estimates slow down a little and they start to decelerate, obviously, but you know, I don't know, maybe we've reached peak growth and it's just not going to be a good stock, but I don't know. I see a stock that goes from 40 to whatever, and I tend to think it rebases and has more in the tank, but who knows? I mean, in reality, it's kind of gone from like 2 to 200. Holy, I guess I just didn't even realize what a
Yeah, it's
phenomenal.
absurd. Yeah.
Imagine if you
Like,
had this
yeah.
thing. It's like a Carvana.
All
Just
right. Well, I mean, we don't want to keep you here all night. We appreciate you staying on a little longer than
yeah.
I had anticipated, but
No, I
really
love talking to
awesome.
you guys.
Yeah, I said in the chat, I said, man, Kel seems like he'd just sit here and talk stocks all night if we didn't stop him.
I
So,
could until my wife yells at me, but
yeah,
she's not
yeah.
going to yell at me tonight, I don't think.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. We'll stay in touch, and this has all been recorded. So anyone who joined late or missed this and is watching later on, this will be in the interviews channel. Chat says thank you. We really appreciate you coming on. And yeah, we'll stay
one,
in touch, and we'll have you on at some time again in the future. What's up, Pat?
one last thing, Oliver. Anand told me I have to tell you that you got to go on his Twitter space in the next couple months. All right.
All right. He's got to pay me. I'll come here for free.
There
No,
we go.
Awesome.
man. Hey, I'm always down to come on. I love talking to you guys. You guys are awesome.
Thanks,
Awesome.
man.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a good night, and see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. All right.
All right. See you guys.